Good afternoon, all respected participants. We will start at 4:45 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Good evening, all respected participants. We will start a while. Please be with us. Thank you all.
Welcome everyone and very good afternoon. Hope the yesterday's sessions was you have gained something from the yesterday's sessions, and please forgive us if there are any inconvenience due to any technical error or others. Today is the second day and the last day of this 2-day national level workshop on art of academic writing. And for this, I would request Dr. Sudipta Ghosh Assistant Professor and HOD of Department of Commerce and Joint Convener of Research Cell of Maharani Kasiswari College to start day 2 session and deliver his speech on the introductory note for the second day.
Thank you, Professor Surjotapa Das. Thank you all. So, good afternoon, participants, all respected participants. On behalf of Maharani Kasiswari College, I, Dr. Sudipto Ghosh, welcome you all. Today is the second and last day of our two-day national level workshop on art of academic writing. Yesterday, we had two eminent resource persons. First, we had Professor Amitava Bandyopadhyay from University of Calcutta, India. Professor delivered an in-depth lecture on ethical issues in publication under Indian academic regulatory regime. Then we had Dr. Kulwant Singh of Chandigarh University. Dr. Singh addressed the issue of academic writing and publication skills in a detailed but lucid manner. And we all enriched a lot. And Dr. Singh also showed some practical way how to search, how to get a right job. Now we have Professor Devobroto Debnath. Professor Debnath is from University of Gaurbango, West Bengal, India. So hope like yesterday, today also you will enjoy the session. Now again, I welcome you all. If there was any mistake from our part, sorry for that, because yesterday we got a problem regarding technical issues at the beginning, but rest portion was fine. Now, may I request Dr. Tapon Kumar Chand, Associate Professor, Department of Education and IQAC Coordinator of Maharani Kasiswari College. Tapon sir, are you here, sir? Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So please say something about today's program and introduce our eminent speaker of today. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. Today, the joint convener of our today's national workshop, Sudipto, already told about our study program, and I am going to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Devobroto Debnath. It's my pleasure in introducing our today's speaker, Dr. Devobroto Debnath. Professor Dr. Devobroto Debnath is serving the University of Gaurbango, Malda, in the capacity of Dean, Faculty of Law, Education, Journalism, Library Science and Physical Education, and Head of the Department of Education also. Before joining the University of Gaurbango, he was engaged as Assistant Professor of Education at Ramakrishna Mission Brahmananda College of Education, Rohda, Kolkata. Professor Devobroto Debnath guided 18 numbers of PhD scholars and 8 numbers of MPhil scholars so far, among which 11 PhD scholars and 8 MPhil scholars are already awarded their degrees. The area of his research interests are contemporary issues in education and social science, educational psychology, teacher education and special education. He has published 11 textbooks in education for postgraduate and B.Ed students from the national and international level publishers, and more than 5 are going to be published soon. Professor Debnath also contributed with a good number of research articles in various national and international journals and edited books. He is also the member of various academic committees of different universities of West Bengal and other than West Bengal. He always tries to encourage his students and followers to serve the society with a positive and constructive outlook. So let us we listen from her and enrich us. Thank you. Sudipto.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for introducing today's eminent speaker. Sir, are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
What?
okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Unfortunately, my laptop is not working properly, so I have joined from two devices at a time.
Okay, sir.
I will
Not
try
an issue,
to
sir.
yes, I will try to speak from my mobile, and I will try to show my presentation on my laptop. Then may I start now, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Our pleasure,
Okay.
sir. Please start,
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
Thanks.
First of all, I would like to convey my heartfelt thanks to the organizer of this today's national level workshop, the authorities of the Maharani Kasiswari College, Kolkata, for organizing such an good webinar with a very important topic. And also, I would like to offer my heartiest thanks to the authorities for offering me a chance to be here today. Especially, I am thankful to Dr. Papan Kumar Chand, who is a very I know him from our studenthood. We spent a lot of time together. He was also in Malda. I came from Kolkata to Malda, and he went from Malda to Kolkata. Now, uh, today I have to speak on two topics. The organizers, first of all, when I was contacted, they asked me to say something about how to write research proposal. And then after they said also, sir, please try to say something about the funds of research, how to raise the funds for the different funding agencies of research. Then I prepared a presentation covering these two areas. But recently they again asked me, sir, you please make it two different speeches because you are the only speaker of the second day. So I again divided my speech into two different topics. So let me start with the first of all, the how to write a research proposal. Let me start with the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, friends. Now let's start how to write a research proposal. Before going to start, how to write, what are the different skills or what are the different steps to prepare a research proposal, first of all, we have to know what is research proposal. What is research? First of all, we have to know what is research, because in the word research there are two different words. One is re, and then another is search. Re and search means research. I mean, research means to search whatever is already searched, to research on the area, to research on the topic, or research on something which one is already searched. Then we have to research what is already searched. That is research. I mean, we have to know if there is any knowledge gap, or if there is any gaps, or if there is something new. What is already searched, we have to find the new. That is research. So research is to search for something new, search for something to research is an effort to fill the knowledge gap. What is already, if there, we have to find out if there is any gap among the knowledge, world of knowledge, and through research we have to try to fill up that knowledge gap. So research is nothing new. Research is we have to find the topic. We have to find the topic from the reviews, and we have to find the gaps. Whatever we have want to search, whatever we have want to search, and whatever we have want to try to find out new. That is research. So that research means I don't think why I have to admit. Someone is joining and asking me to admit. Is there a problem, sir? Sir? Hello. Sir, am I audible, sir? Sir, Topan, sir?
Sir, you are audible. You are audible. But sir, are you changing the slides, or the slide showing writing on research proposal is still there?
Yes,
Because
yes. No, I have not shifted the slide. I have not shifted the slide, but someone is requesting me repeatedly to admit in this meeting.
okay, sir. From
Some
our end,
participants, I am facing some request from the participants, and they are asking me to admit them in this meeting. I am not the host, but
okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. We are taking this issue from our end. Sir, please continue, sir. And you are audible. No problem.
okay.
Sir.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
So, before going to start the research, any research, we have to prepare a proposal. Proposal means what we wanted to do, what we want to do, or how we will have to conduct our research, how we will proceed for our research, or how we should proceed to find the knowledge gap, or how we should proceed to fill the knowledge gap. That is the proposal. So, research proposal, we have to finalize, we have to fix, or we have to prepare the proposal before going to start our research. Now, I will try to show you what are the steps of preparing this research proposal. Okay. First of all, what is research proposal? A research proposal is a document that provides a detailed description of the intended program. Just what I was telling. It is a detailed program. It is a detailed description. It is a detailed total layout. It is a total plan of action about the research program, or the research activities, or the research study. What a researcher will do throughout his research from the very beginning up to the end. In research proposal, he or she has to mention the total program, how the work will be progressed, how he or she progress towards his or her research. In research proposal, he or she has to mention in detail. It is like an outline of the entire research process that gives the reader a summary of the information discussed in a project. I think all of you who have some experience of doing research, or you have an idea how to do research, or you have an idea in your master degree, you have got your ideas in your subject specific master degree, and you know what is research and how to do research, and what is the system or what is the process of research. So before going to start any research program, any type of research, that may be a dissertation or PhD or any other like this, you have to prepare a proposal first. And in proposal, you will be, as a researcher, you will be evaluated or you will be offered the opportunity to do research after evaluating your proposal. First of all, a researcher has to prepare the proposal, then it will be evaluated, and then if proposal is permitted or granted or accepted, then he or she will be permitted to proceed towards his or her research. So it provides a summary of his or her plan of action of doing the research in proposal. So it is your entire research program will be summarized in the research proposal, and you have to mention in every step of your research what you are going to do. You have to mention in a summary in your research proposal. The objectives in writing a proposal is to describe what you will do, why it should be done, how you will do it, and what are your expected results. So these are the main points. Mind it, in research depends on logic. The writing of any text or any research report is different in types of a presentation. In every research, you have to establish your every steps to scientific method of your subject specific research methodology or logic, because research always should follow a accepted methodology, and every subject has its approved research methodology. So you have to mention why you are doing this research, how it will be helpful for the future generation, how your research findings will be helpful to put some knowledge in the world of knowledge, and what method will be followed by you, and how you will come to the result, what will be your expected result, and how this result will be benefited for the society. You have to mention in every steps of your research, because I just mentioned the research based on some scientific process or scientific method of every subject. So in your research proposal, you have to mention everything, why you have taken, why you have chosen this problem, what will be your research methodology, how you will proceed towards your research, and what will be the result, and how this result will be helpful for the human society. Everything should be mentioned in research proposal, because you will be grant permission to do your research after evaluating your research proposal. So everything should be mentioned in your research proposal. Now, these are the basic components. I tried to make this presentation based on a general observation, not from any specific subject area. I do research in the subject of education. I guided my students in the research of education, but I have tried to make today's presentation based on a general idea, not from my subject's points of view. I have tried to, because I know there are so many participants from different subject area, so I have tried to mention the common areas. I have tried to make it a universal presentation apart from my subject. So in any research, in any subject of any subject in any research proposal, I think these are the basic components. It may be you may include more than these components from the viewpoint of your subject, but these are the main topics, main components. Then the first one is title. Title means your problem. Someone said the problem, research area, research topic, that is title. In which topic you are going to perform your research, in which topic you are going to do your research, that is your title. How to write title, what is the title, how should be the title, how it maybe written. I will discuss it later on. Then number is abstract. Abstract means all of you know abstract is a summary form. What you have wanted to do, what you are going to do, you have to mention in a nutshell in this abstract form. Then it is introduction. It is very important part, introduction. There are so many sub-components of introduction. But generally, earlier I have mentioned I have made a common component, so I mentioned only the term introduction. There may be so many sub-components of introduction. Then what is introduction? In the introduction area, you have to establish the logic why you have chosen this topic. You have to mention your topic. You have to establish your topic from different angles of logic. Why it is important? What is the necessity? What is the need? What is the importance? What is the rationale? All in the introduction part. Then comes review of related literature. This is also very important. What is review? Review means the area which you wanted to do research, you have to find the reports of the previous researchers' activities. What is already done in this area, you have to come through their activities, their research reports. Now you may ask why we have to go through the previous researcher activities, because if earlier I have said that every research must have some unique result. Every research must have some unique outcomes. Every research must have something new. So if we know what is already done in my interested area, then it will be helpful in which area I have to do my research and how I. Another important review is if you want to know how what method should I follow in my present research, how the previous researchers perform their work. If I know that, then it will be helpful for me as a new researcher to choose the required method, the appropriate method of my present research. So to find the knowledge gap and to choose the appropriate method of my present research, I must go to the previous research works related with my present intended area. So review gives us an opportunity to choose my research topic, and review also gives opportunity to choose the appropriate method for my present research. And then the objective. Objective means why I am doing what I have intended to do this research. Why I am going to do my research. What is the objectives? Objectives is the point which will guide my research. Objectives is that point, those points which will guide a researcher what to do and how to do and where to do. Everything will be guided by the objectives. In objectives area, I have to mention why I am going to do the research on this specific topic and what will be the result and what in I am going to do research on any topic, and the objectives will tell us why we have chosen this and how we will go, how we will perform, how we will go through the research, how we will perform, how we will do my research. That will be guided by the objectives throughout the research. And after selecting the objectives, we have to mention some research question or hypothesis. Hypothesis means the tentative solution, tentative results. What may come before doing the research, according to any research methodology, a researcher have to mention what the probable outcomes may we find after my research. I mean, before doing my research, I have to mention the tentative results. Those are hypotheses. There are so many types of writing hypotheses. I am not going within this how to write a research hypothesis. Research hypothesis or research question, both are same. There are various types of research. If we want to do it qualitative research, then we may consider research question. And if we want to do any quantitative research, then we may take help from the hypothesis. Then we may write hypothesis. Generally, only the basic difference between this research question and hypothesis, both are same. What if we want to write the tentative result in a question form, that is research question, and if we write the result in a affirmative form, then it is hypothesis. And generally, in qualitative study, we use research questions, and in any quantitative study, we use hypothesis. It may be varied. It may be varied based on some research topic or based on some methodology. It may be varied. Research question also may be used in for quantitative study, but hypothesis generally may not use in any qualitative study. In qualitative study, a researcher must have used the research question, and in quantitative study, research question and hypothesis both may use, but generally the researcher use the hypothesis in quantitative study. Then comes the methodology. In the methodology portion, you have to mention everything, what or how you are going to do your research. If it is quantitative study, then the methodology, the writing methodology, the style of writing methodology is different. If it is qualitative study, then you have to follow the different style of writing the methodology. Generally, in any quantitative study, I think all of you know about the difference between qualitative and quantitative. If we judge any topic, if we do research, and if we want to explain, or if you want to analyze any area qualitatively, or then it is qualitative research. And if we want to do any research, and if we want to data and quantify them, then it is quantitative research. It is general difference between these two. And methodology may be different based on your topic or based on your research methodology. In methodology portion, you have to mention everything, what you are doing to, what you are going to do, what you have intended to do, and how it will be done. Everything will be mentioned. Everything must be mentioned in the methodology portion. Then plan for analysis of results. How the results will be interpreted. In quantitative research, generally we find the results in a score form, in a mathematical score form, and we have to interpret the mathematical terms into literary form. And in qualitative research, we generally find the results in literary form. So it requires no interpretation generally in qualitative research, but in quantitative research, it requires the literary interpretation of the the scores. And you have to mention how you will analyze your result, how you will interpret your result in the plan for analysis result portion. And then the bibliography. Bibliography means what you have from which books and journals and articles or etc. help you throughout the research. You have to mention everything in the bibliography portion. There are so many styles of writing bibliography. I think all of you know how to write bibliography and what styles researchers to follow in writing bibliography. But there are so many styles of writing bibliography. You may choose your suitable one. Generally, the researchers follow the APA style, American Technical Institution style. It is also used by the researcher. Generally, every researcher uses the bibliography in APA style. Then the Gantt chart of timetable. Gantt chart means it is a chart prepared by Gantt. So we call this Gantt chart. It is basically used in qualitative study, timetable. It is something like bar graph, and there is have to mention what will be your plan of action and which how many times it will be required in every steps. Like first of all, a review for 3 months, and writing the introduction chapter 4 months, and collecting the data 6 months, like this. You have to mention a timetable or Gantt chart in your research proposal, and then budget. Now it is budget also necessary, how it will be carried out your research, what will be a tentative expenditure, how you will manage, everything should be mentioned in your research proposal. And finally the next steps. And finally the next steps. The next steps means which documents you have helped you in your research. The documents which will be helpful, like if you want to use any research tools like questionnaire, interview schedule, etc., etc., you have to mention the these in your extra questions. If you use any, I mean, the documents which will be helpful for you in your research, or you have got help from the document, you have to mention all these in the extra questions. Okay, now now I will try to discuss the every components again. First of all, the title of the research. In writing the title of the research, first of all, we have to consider that it should be concise, descriptive, informative, and catchy. Uh, Title is the main portion, the main part of your research. In everywhere in future, where you have to face with your research, where you have to go your research. First of all, everybody will ask, what is the topic? So you should mind in writing a topic, it should be concise but informative. There are, I am coming. We have to use some variables in research. Research based on some variables. Research means find out the relationship between different variables. Now, what is variables? I will discuss it later on. So, you must write your title based on your variables of the research. What you are going to do, which topic, and what is the focal area of your research, you have to mention. You have to only mention the area of your research in the title. So it should be concise and descriptive, informative, and catchy. Title should clearly indicate the dependent. Just like I was telling about the variables. Variables means the main construct of your research, on which main theme, on which main part, or which main area you are going to research, on which specific area, that is variable in general. I can explain what is variable, but I think it will not be. It will be more. It need not describe in detail at present. So what is variable? Just mind it. Variable is the main construct, the main focal theme of your research topic. In whatever subject you in any subject you may choose your research, you are going to research, or you have to focus on a specific area. That is your variable. There are two types of variable: dependent or independent. I think I should not describe it more. What is dependent, independent variable? Dependent means independent means which are constant, and dependent means which is changeable based on independent. So the influence of independent variable, some variables may be changed. As for example, academic performance, academic achievement, it may be varied based on personality, So if we want to do a research between the academic achievement and personality, in this case, academic achievement may be varied, so it is dependent variable. Personality may not be varied. Personality of the student is a constant attribute, so it is an independent variable. So which may be varied, that is dependent, and which is constant, that is independent variable. So research is finding the relationship between these two variables. One is dependent, one is independent. Independent may be one or two or more, but we have to mind only this. The research is searching the relationship between dependent and independent variables. So we have to mention the all variables on which we are going to do our research in the topic, in the title area. Next, the title provides the keywords for the classification and indexing of the project. So I already said there are generally two types of research. There are so many types, but generally I can classify the research in two areas, that is qualitative and quantitative. By your research topic, it will be classified in any area of your subject, research of your subject. So the research topic will be helpful to classify your research in which classification it will go. Through your research proposal, through your research title, everyone can classify your research in it belongs to which classes or which areas or which types. That will be based on your topic. And then it is important to specify what population or universal will be investigated. Obviously, you have to make population means on which area, on which area you are going to do your research. It may be West Bengal, it may be India, or it may be a SAARC country or anywhere maybe. You have to mention the population area where you will investigate, or where on which area you are going to do your research. It should be mentioned in your title. Next. So, what is good and difference between good and bad title? I think the first one is the topic examination phobia. It may be a topic examination phobia, but it is too brief. So I cannot understand what you are going to do on examination phobia. On you are going to doing or you are going to do your research on examination phobia of which type of students or which class of students or on which area. Nothing is clear here. So it may be called a bad title, examination phobia. But if we choose the second one, a study on the effects of counseling program by teachers on examination phobia in secondary level children, it is concise but gives sufficient information. I repeat, a study on the effects of a counseling program by teachers on examination phobia in secondary level children. It is far better than the first one. So it is a concise form, but it provides a sufficient information what I am going to do or what I have intended to do in my research. So in choosing your title, you must be informative in concise form. So it may be considered a good title. Then comes the abstract. It is a brief summary of approximately 300 words. It is approximate here. It may be 500 also. But I mentioned it. I am trying to generalize the presentation, generalize my speech. So I mentioned the 300 words. It may be 250 or it may be 500. It will depends on your topic, on how many variables you are going to use, and what will be your population, what will be sample. Based on this, it may be varied. It should summarize all the central elements of the protocol. In every researcher of every subject and every area, every discipline, you have to follow the second point. It should summarize all the central elements of the protocol. For example, the rational, objectives, method, population, time frame, and expected outcome. This should be mentioned in abstract, in very short form. These points must be mentioned in your abstract. Like rational, I mean, why you have chosen the problem, the importance or necessity of your topic, objectives of your research, methods, what methods you are going to follow, population, who will be your population, what will be the time frame, in how many times it will require to do this research, and expected outcomes. What will be the expected outcome? You have to mention your abstract. Then comes the introduction part. The introduction provides the reader with the background information. Why? Earlier I mentioned also, we have to establish our topic with some logic, with some background study. Why we have to do? What is the necessity? How it will, how your research will be helpful for the future generation? How your research will be helpful to add some new knowledge in the world of knowledge? You have to establish everything in introduction portion through various types of logical information. It should have topic area, research question, significance to knowledge. So in introduction, you have to mention everything, all this. Now it is review of written literature. In this section, what is already known about the topic written, including the lacuna. So I mentioned earlier that we have to find some knowledge gap, or if there is any knowledge gap, then my research is accept. Then my research is a research, and then my that is the necessity of my research to fill the knowledge gap. So we have to find, we have to search any lacuna. If we have to search any gap, whatever already done in the internship area of my research. So we have to come what the previous researchers have already done in this particular area. So through reviewability literature, we have to find, we have to go through the previous work, and we have to find any knowledge gap, and that knowledge gap will be my research area, my research topic. You do not need to report on every published study in the area of research topic. So when you will go through the review portion, review part, you may find so many works, lots of works which are already done in your area, but you should not mention everything. You have to mention only the relevant, most relevant topic, most relevant research related to your present work. Choose those studies which are most relevant and most important. Yes, already I mentioned. You have to choose the most relevant and most important works related with your present area of interest, or present topic, present title of your research. You have to find previous works. Reviews of the literature are not summarized. Their argument that they are in the gap that needs filling, that you have sound results. I have also already mentioned that you have to you have to find the previous report, previous research reports or previous research work, but you have to mention the previous work in a summarized form, and you have to mention only the key points of the previous research in writing your review of related literature portion. Now the objectives. The objectives are the specific steps you will take to achieve your aim. I have already said that you have to do your research. You have to follow any methodology. You have to perform. You have to try to come to the concluding part of research, and the objectives will guide you how you will do your research, how you will go through your research. So the objectives are specific steps you will take to achieve your aim, and through the objective, following the objectives, or researcher may achieve his or her aim, and he will come to the conclusion through following the objectives. The aim is the what of the research, and what is the objective is the how. So these are the how you have to mention your objective, what and how. You have to follow this type of verbs. How you will, this is the point, how you will have to mention the objective. Research objectives are the goals to be achieved by the conducting the research. Now the main points are, objective should be logical and coherent, feasible, realistic, considering local conditions, defined in operational terms that can be measured, phrased to clearly meet the purpose of the study, the relevance. So these are the main points which you have to keep in mind while mentioning your objective, while framing your objectives, you have to mention, first of all, there is an important term in research methodology, that is research or the problem. You have to choose a problem. You should not choose any problem which is not researchable. You have to choose a topic what is feasible by you, what is possible by you as a researcher. You may not do lots of work. It is not possible for any researcher because we have to do our research within some limitations. So every researcher must have some limitations. So before fixing his or her problem, before finalizing his or her problem, he or she must mind about the limitations of the researcher. How far it will be possible for me before going to finalize my research topic? We must have to keep in mind what is possible for me and how it will be done and what will be the positive outcomes. Everything we have to keep in mind before finalizing the objectives. Objectives. How objectives should be stated? Objectives should be stated using action verb. Then what is action verb? Verb means doing something. Action verb means also doing something. What action verb means? You have to mention the objectives using verbs which is visible. I may give an example. I may write objectives to understand or to compare. If we say to compare between this and this, the compare is the action verb. But if we mention to understand or to realize this and this, the realize here is not an action verb because realizing of someone is not visible. But comparing between two or three variables, it is visible. I can show how I have compared this, but I cannot show how I have realized this. So in writing the objectives, a researcher must start his objectives with action verb like determine, compare, verify, calculate, describe, etc. But do not use vague non-action verbs such as to appreciate, to understand, to believe, etc. These are also verbs. But in writing objectives, a researcher should avoid this type of non-action verbs. Any type of non-action verb. A researcher must write his or her objectives starting with an action verb. The general objective of the research is what is to be accomplished by the research project. This is general objective. And the specific objectives related to the specific research question an investigator wants to answer to the proposed study may be presented as primary and secondary objectives. Okay. Objectives may be different. That is, there may be some general objectives. General objectives means we have to mention the objectives from the background of the general idea of my discipline, of my subject, of my area. This is a general objective. And related with my topic, a researcher must have to mention some specific objectives, what he or she is going to do, and what the positive outcomes, what the probable outcomes, you have to mention specific related with the topic. So there may be some general idea of your research area. You have to mention the general objectives based on your general idea of your subject, of your discipline, and you have to mention the specific objectives based on your specific research area or specific research topic. So both objectives should be mentioned in the objective area. Now, I have also already said what is research question hypothesis. Hypothesis can be defined as a tentative prediction or explanation of the relationship between two or more variables. So it is the tentative result, probable result. It may be or may not be. The research work is to find out. Research work is to search what I have thought earlier in hypothesis, whether it was true or not. To find out the hypothesis, to find out the validity of the hypothesis, to find out the authenticity of the hypothesis is the research work. So before going to start our research, we have to mention the tentative result or probable result, that is called hypothesis. And throughout the research, you have to search whether your hypothesis is true or false, whether you have whatever you have decided earlier, whether it is right or wrong, whether whatever what you have thought earlier, that is accepted or not accepted. That is the research work. So throughout the work, a researcher has to find whether whatever was decided earlier in hypothesis, uh, whether it is right or wrong. That is the research program. And this is the research work to prove the hypothesis, to test the hypothesis. This is the research work. Ambiguous prediction for expected outcomes. Unambiguous prediction of expected outcomes. Okay. I just said a researcher has every right to write the hypothesis, whether there will be it will be right or it may be wrong. But writing your hypothesis based on you must based on some previous knowledge. What is tentative fact? I just I want to give an example to clear this topic. Suppose we are going to we are going to do a research on the personality, whichever I have mentioned earlier, personality. So I may write in hypothesis there will be relationship between boys and girls on personality. Or I may write there will be difference between boys and girls on personality. Or I may write there will be no difference will be in personality. So I may write everything in the everything, because there may be some relationship or there may not be some relationship. But if we write the boys will differ, if we write the girl student have no personality, it is an ambiguous prediction. Because I know it is the established fact, every individual has some personality. So if we want to write the hypothesis on personality, we must mention there will be difference or there will be no difference, just like this. But we cannot say there will be no personality. So this is ambiguous prediction. So as according to methodology, researchers have every right to write anything in hypothesis. But you must mind it that you must have to avoid the ambiguous prediction, which is absurd. You should not use this type of hypothesis or research question, which is not possible, which is absolutely absurd. You must have to avoid this type of prediction in writing hypothesis. Now, this is methodology. I mentioned there are so many topics, subtopics on methodology. It covers approaches to the question, research design, research subjects, inclusion exclusion criteria, sampling procedure, contours or comparison groups, data needs, analytical techniques, plan for interpreting results, ethical issues. So these are the common points which I have mentioned here, on which you have to, based on which topic you have to mention the methodology portion. These are the common areas you have to mention in your methodology portion. Approaches to the question, research design may be varied from subject to subject or discipline to discipline. Research subjects, you have to choose the research subject of your own. Inclusion exclusion criteria, how it will be done, you have to mention. Sampling procedure, how you will choose your sampling. There are so many techniques of preparing the sample from the population. You have to adopt your own based on your objectives or hypothesis. You have to mention the sampling techniques, and you have to select your sample from the population, because we do our research on samples, but we predict on our, but the result comes on the based on the population. Because it is so if I want to do a research on the class 8 students of West Bengal, it is not possible for any researcher to do research from with every students of West Bengal of class 8. So in doing research, we have to based on some, we have to make a sample of my sample from my population, and we have to do our research on the samples. But in results area, we have to mention the result for the with the help of the population. We have to mention a result for the population, but we do our research on the sample. So it is a very crucial part to select the proper sample. So for selecting the sample, required sample, you have to follow the proper sampling techniques. Then control comparison groups. If you do any experimental research or you have to do any experiment in your research, then you have to do your research on these type of two groups. If you it will be you have to mention your groups. If you do any research, if you do any practical experience or experiments, then you have to mention here. Data needs, what type of data it will be needed for your research, and how you collect your data, the tools, which type of tools you will be used, everything should be mentioned here. And techniques, analytical techniques, how you analyze your result, how you interpret your results, you have to mention in this area. And lastly, ethical issue. Recently, this is giving more emphasis on research ethics. And you know, in every where in Indian university, the researchers have to do coursework. And from the previous year, you see introduced specific area of research and publication ethics, and in coursework, or every researcher have to know some ethical issues which should be followed in research. You have to mention the ethical issues in your in this area also. Overview of the approach: data collection, data analysis, interpretation. These are the main core components of methodology. This is a timetable. A Gantt chart is an overview of tasks, proposed activities of a time frame from the same. How many times it will be required for doing your research? If you mention you put weeks, there are months at one side and the task for the other side. Yeah, I previously said this is like a bar graph. In the one side of a bar, you have to mention the time, and other side you have to mention the tentative task. In which time frame, what we will do, you have to mention in a chart. You do fat lines indicate the period the task will be performed to give a timeline for your research study. Okay. Then now come the budget. The budget translates project activities into monetary terms, because in every research you need some money. So how many money will be spent? How it will be? How many cost? What will be the cost? You have to mention in budget area. How will be the study financed? You have to mention also. If you get any fund or if you get any scholarship, you have to mention there how it will be managed by you. Then the reference chapter. I have written a style, Vancouver style. You may use Vancouver style or any style you may use in reference, whatever you like. You consult with your in consultation with your research supervisor. You may use any type of style in writing the reference of bibliography. Number refers consecutively throughout the body of the text in the order which they are first mentioned. Okay. In writing the reference, there are something different between the reference and bibliography. The reference means the text which you have used in your area, in your writing your research proposal or writing your research report. You have to mention the specific reference from which you have from which writing you have got help. You have to mention reference area. Reference may be written in the end of the every chapter, but bibliography must be written in the end part of your research report. Reference may be written in the end of the every chapter, but bibliography must be written in the last part of your research. Identify reference in text, tables, and legends by numerals in parentheses. Some journals require reference to be indicated in superscript, which makes typing more difficult. Okay, do not include reference in your abstract. In abstract area, you should not mention any reference. And this is the bibliography. And bibliography, I already said you may follow any type of writing style of bibliography, but generally we mind that the bibliography must contain the author's name, the title of the work, the names of the location, the dates your copies are published, the page number of your sources. So these are the main components of any type of bibliography. You have to mention, you have to, in writing bibliography, you may based on these type of topics. Annexure include the appropriate appendices in the proposal. For example, interview protocol. If you use any interview schedule, suppose you may you wanted to conduct a survey, so you have to you need to use a interview. You may you have intended to collect data through interview, so you may use here the interview protocol. Example of informed consent forms. Consent form means from you should take the consent letter from your supervisor, from the head of your institution, or from the institution. If you go to any institute to collect your data, if you go to any school or anywhere to collect your data, you should collect a consent letter from the authorities of that institute. Formal letter for permission of conduct research. Yes, you may get it from your institute where you are enrolled for research. You must have to collect some permission letter to do some research or to conduct your to collect your data. You must collect the permission letter from the authority. Official letters sent to the stakeholders. Official letters for permission to conduct research. Original skills or questionnaire. Somewhere we may do our research and we may get funding from various authorities. So before going to start our research, we should collect the proper permissions for doing research. So this should be mentioned in the annexures forms. Okay. If the instrument is copyrighted, then permission is written to reproduce the instrument from the copyright holder or proof of purchase of the instrument must be submitted. It is basically for the researcher of science subjects. You know every invent some copyright researcher or an institute may have some copyright. If you use this type of instrument in your research, you must follow, you must mind the copyright and how you will use this and who will give you permission, how will you have to collect the permission, and you have to mention everything regarding copyright in this area. So this is the very good, very important topic, very important points for the present time, because you know user is very much careful to find out if there is any plagiarism. So be careful in copying from another, in copying from another report or from copying from another books or journals or anywhere. So you may go through any previous work, but you must have to write those thoughts in your own words. You should not copy. You should not copy from any previous work, and you should not mention any. You should not mention any copy. Just and you must avoid to copy, because you may write everything, but you should write it in your own words. So avoid plagiarism, because before submitting your final report, you should collect a plagiarism-free certificate from your institute, and you have to put the certificate in your research report. So if you want to be safe in future with your research report or research degree, so always try to avoid plagiarism. Thank you for this session. But before going to end this topic, I just want to say one more thing, which is not mentioned in this slides. Research proposal always should be written in future tense, because going to start our research, we are preparing our proposal. So no work is done so far. We are going to do by research. So everything should be written in future tense. That will be done. The researcher will be done, and everything will be in. Nothing will be written in. I mean, first person form. Everything should be written in third person. The researcher. Always mention yourself as a researcher, not as me or I or myself. Always refer yourself as the researcher, the present researcher. The researcher will do, the researcher will come, researcher will perform like this. Never use the first person form I, we, avoid this type of words. Always use the third person form, and should mind it. The proposals always should be written in future tense form, never should in past tense or present tense form. The report, after doing your research, when you will write your research report, it will be written in past tense form, because work is already done. The researcher went, the researcher did, the researcher went through this. You have to write like this in your research report. But in research proposal, you have to write the total report in future form. So this is uh, from me up to for this first session, how to write a research proposal. I don't know whether uh, uh, you can I am able to understand you how to research proposal, how to write a research proposal, or I don't know whether come to know any new idea. So after all, every subject has some specific research methodology, and you should follow your specific method, or you should follow your guide, or you should follow the instruction from your institute to writing the research proposal. Thank you. I think there are some questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this detailed presentation, a very enriched presentation. Sir, will you be comfortable to take the questions now, or after your second presentation, we will consider the question
No,
answer
sir,
session?
there are some questions in my message box. I will try to answer this.
Okay,
First
sir.
of
Okay.
Shamsundar Rai, may we get the all PPTs of all speakers of today? I think it is not for me. It is for the authorities. In drafting the Sujata Pradash, madam, you are also asking questions. Okay. In drafting the budget in research proposal, what are the subcategories in this expenditure plan? Yes, there may not be some specific subcategories. You may use the overall expenditure, or you may use the subcategories like in preparing the research proposal, or in collecting data, or in the computer typing section, or in the printing section. You may subcategorize your budget in this area, or you may not write in detail. You should not write in detail. You may make a overall expenditure also, or whatever you like. Can we give plan for purchasing data analysis software in the non-recurring or instrument purchase? Obviously, you may, if it is needed for your research, you must you can give your plan. Thank you. Thanks, sir, ma'am. Yeah, very informative. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Very good. Very clear and precise explanation. Very good. Gurpreet Kaur. Madam, you are asking so many questions. In which portion of the budget you are related with budget only? In which portion of the budget in research proposal can you ask for funding for article processing charges? In which portion of budget? Sir? Okay. If you want to publish article based on your research, so it should be, it may be ongoing when you go through your research or after completion of research. So, expenditure for publication, expenditure, you first of all you should try to uh, find the publishers who does not require any who do not require any uh, charge for your publication. But if the charge you may mention, obviously you may mention here for publication. Uh, there is no first rule for national use. All of other, thank you, sir. Informative. Sorry for the publication. Okay, madam. You may mention or you may not mention, whatever is like, whatever you like. Okay. I think there are. I have answered all the questions so far I have received, and now I will start the second part of my today's evening. That is the budget funding agencies. I think, Madam Surjadapa, you will find your answers in my second lecture. So, sir, you may ask the participants if they have any questions of this topic.
Sir,
If
till now there is no more questions on this topic.
Okay.
We are on YouTube also. So if any questions come, we will put it in interactive session, sir. Sir, one question we just got a one
It is
question.
very important question. It is a very
Yeah,
important
yes, sir,
question.
yes, sir.
Sir,
Yes, yes.
can we add or remove or edit the hypothesis after submission of the synopsis? It is a very good question, a very important question. In every research institute, have some specific rules, have some specific guidelines for doing research. In everywhere, during registration, a researcher a researcher has to submit a research proposal or synopsis. And after getting registration, it never it should be edited. Whatever, yes, in doing your research, while doing your research, it may be there it requires some minor changes, but uh, you should uh, you should consult with your institute whether it is permissible or not. After getting registration, after registered yourself as a research scholar, whether your institute permits you to change the abstract or your synopsis, you should consult with your institute. Generally, you may brought some minor changes, but if there are some also provisions to change the title also. But every institute has some specific guidelines for doing this type of changes. So you must have to consult your research guide or your institute before doing this type of changes or edit. Okay. Okay, friend. Uh, so this was my first topic, and the next topic is very important topic and very it is a new for me also. Different funding agencies of India for research. I just want a break of 2 minutes only before going to start this topic. I beg your pardon to get a 2 minutes break for this
Cheers.
start this session. Okay. May I start?
Sure, sir. Please, sir.
Yes, sir,
Okay,
please.
thank you. Thank you.
Start.
So, the topic of this presentation is different funding agencies of India for research. Uh, Generally, the research scholars get some scholarship from various agencies for doing their research. And the one term is very common to us, it is JRF. Every student's right to qualify the junior research scholarship conducted by the UGC through NET exam, and they try to achieve this scholarship JRF. And in our state, the government of West Bengal offering some scholarships for the it means non-net fellowship, and there are so many common funding sources. All of you know that. But apart from these common funding agencies, there are so many agencies which provide the fund for doing research in different areas. In this presentation, I will try to show you the different agencies of India who provide fund for doing research in different areas. So, before going to research, we have to prepare ourselves. We have to prepare ourselves to do research based on some points. That is, research-bent mind. In the previous presentation, I mentioned one topic, that is ethical issue. So, before going to research, a researcher first have to decide whether he or she have some dedication to do their research. So, research requires some dedication, because research is more different from writing any story or any novel. A writer may write everything of his or her choice, or his or her taste in a story or in a novel. But in a research, a researcher may not have any personal choice, because he has to follow some specific guidelines from his or her research institute, or he must have to follow some methodology. So there may not be his or her personal choice. So first of all, before going to research, he has to judge his or her dedication towards the research. That is research bent of mind. Intrinsic, extrinsic, and achievement motivation. Sometimes it may be bored you, it may be bound you to do more and to give more and more labor in your research, or sometimes sorry. Sometimes you may not come to the positive outcomes. You may not come to your expected result, or sometimes you may be demotivated by any means of uh, unwanted activities. So first of all, you have to find the intrinsic, extrinsic, and achievement motivation. Sorry, that's it. Sorry. So you have to judge your internal motivation, whether you are ready to do your research, or you may face so many problems in throughout your research work, but you should not be demotivated. You should not give up your research work. So before going to do your research, you have to judge your motivation, whether you will be capable to face every challenges throughout your research. Then academic support, whether your academic background or your academic ability support you to do this type of laborious and hard work and this type of exclusive work, whether it will be helpful, whether your academic support or your circumstantial support may be helpful for you, you have to judge before starting your research. Administrative support also required because in you have to follow some guidelines or you have to follow some rules and regulations of your research institute, or if you want to collect data from any other institute, then you have to follow their guidelines or their rules and regulations. So you need some support from everywhere to perform your research, to do your research. So whether it is uh, feasible to get the administrative support before starting the research, you must have to find whether administrative support you will get or not. Subordinate support is also required because you have to, uh, while doing your research, you have to do your work. You have to seek help from your subordinates or your peers. So whether they are ready to help you, you must have to judge. Female level support it is also required because in doing research, you may not participate in any family events, or your family have to support because you have to pay more attention to your research than your family in some cases also maybe. Then if your family do not support you, then it will be troublesome for you to do your research. So because before going to do your research, you may verify how your family supports you to do the research. And finally, your health and age. How you have chosen if you choose a topic which may be very tough for you regarding your health problem or your age problem, then it will be very tough for you to complete the research. So before going to start any research, every researcher must have to keep in mind this type of topic, this type of point before going to start the research. Now, this I come to my main points. What are the funds? What are the sources of funds for research in India? There may be source from various levels. One from institutional level. I just mentioned UBC. It may be an institution, or some university also provides this fellowship. URS, I mean, University Research Scholar. University provide funds from their own. That is institutional fund. Now, central government level bodies, central bodies, there are so many bodies of central level in India. I think in another countries also. So, central government level bodies, all India level bodies, they also provide some sources for funds. State government bodies also provide funds. International bodies, there are also some UNESCO, just like UNESCO. UNESCO also provide uh, various funds in doing research. Company-based research and development wing. There are so many corporate sectors which provide research and which possess wing research and development wing. They also provide funds. Local level bodies, somewhere local bodies also provide funds to do research. This type of research mainly the researcher have to choose the topic of local needed area. So local bodies also provide funds. And lastly, finally, the NGOs. Now the NGOs also provide funds for doing research in everywhere. So what are the eligibility for grant? There may be individual eligibility, that is permanent faculty with PhD. Uh, Permanent faculty of any institute with PhD, they may also grant fund for doing research. I will show later on how what type of funds may get a permanent faculty. Any researcher may get fund. A researcher who was the first researcher, I mean, the first researcher. Hello. Sir, please mute yourself. Person working with in PG and research department. So, in some cases, the postgraduate students of research department may also get some funds. So, these are the individual eligibility.
साफ कर दी सारी नहीं मैंने भी कर दी साफ ये
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Dinesh Kumar, please mute yourself. Please mute yourself. Dinesh Kumar, please mute yourself.
कारपेट उठा लेगा
So, sir, you
May I request our technical team to mute Dinesh Kumar? Dinesh Kumar, please mute yourself.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Sir, please continue, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. And now the institutional eligibility. Which institute may get grants for doing research? That is, university may grant or college, public funded institution, NAC accredited institution with 12B and 2F status. So I think who are everyone present here know this type of eligibility. Of institutional eligibility, because we are engaged with any type of any institution. So university and college may get fund, public funded institution may get fund, NAC accredited institution may get fund, or institution with 12P and 2F status from UGC, they may get fund for performing research. So these are the funds granted by the UGC for major research project and minor research project. In the case of major research project, in science subject, UGC offered 20 lakhs, and humanities subject, they offered 15 lakhs for doing research. Non-recurring grants, equipment, books and journals, recurring grants, hiring charge, contingency, prevalent fieldwork, and chemicals. I think, Madam Sujatapa, you may find your answers in this presentation. How it will be.
What are the subdivision of?
Yes. So in major research project, UGC assisted like this. And in case of minor research project, science subject, a researcher may get 5 lakhs, and humanities it may be 3 lakhs. And non-recurring grants, equipment, books, journals, recurring grants like the previous one, hiring charge, contingency, prevalent field, and chemicals. So these are the heads. These are the areas in which area you may use your grant, you may use your fund in minor and major research projects. So then AICTE, it is also a national level organization which provides funds for doing research in India. That is All India Council for Technical Education. They provide funds. They provide funds for some specific research areas of their own. They have mentioned these areas. It is not mentioned by me. It is mentioned by AICTE. They mentioned these areas for these. If a researcher want to do research on these areas, they may apply. He or she may apply to the AICTE for fund. If they satisfied all the requirements of the agency, then the researcher may be allowed for getting fund. Which are these? Engineering and technology, architecture, town planning, management, pharmacy, hotel management and catering technology, applied arts and crafts, etc. So these areas are mentioned by AICTE. Uh, After completing this presentation, I will try to show you how to apply and where to apply for different types of funding. I will try to show you the process or sites, websites, how to apply, where to apply. These are the projects and schemes funded by ACT. Research and institutional development schemes, modernization of removal of obsolescence schemes, research promotion schemes, industry institute interaction schemes, industry institute partnership cell, entrepreneurship development cell, national facilities in engineering and technology with industrial collaboration, nationally coordinated projects. So these are the projects on which AICT provides funds. If any of you want to do research in any of these areas, you may apply for AICT for provide funds. Now it is very common to us, ICSSR. Many of us get funds, many of our colleagues doing their research under the funding of ICSSR. It means Indian Council of Social Science Research. They provide lots of funds in doing research in social science, basically in social science. Categories of research projects are major and minor. They are also major project for 2 years, it is 5 to 15 lakh, and minor project for 1 year up to 5 lakh. Eligibility: social scientists who are regularly employed to apply may apply. Sorry, who are regular teacher of any institute may apply for this type of fellowship, this type of funding. Procedure for award application: initially scrutinized by the expert committee, ICSSR, secretariat, and then shortlist the meritorious proposal. So they advise for the research proposal through national various portals, and throughout the country, many researchers, many teachers, or many faculty members apply for the fund with their specific proposal, and they scrutinize the proposal, submitted proposal, and after scrutiny, it is a very tough task. It is a very tough procedure to get the funding from ICSSR. And after, if your project select after the all formalities, then you will provide the fund maximum for 2 years. If it is major project, then you will be grant the fund for 2 years. For doing, you will be allotted time for doing research for 2 years. And if it is minor project, you will be offered 1 year, and the fund will be up to 5 lakh. The fund depends on your proposal. They will decide whatever you have written in your proposal, whatever budget you have mentioned, whether it is feasible or not, it will be decided by the ICSSR. Whether it is permissible or not, it will be decided by the ICSSR. So my suggestion is always try to be specific, always try to be honest to mention the budgetary location if you want to apply for ICSSR. Then it is Indian Council of Historical Research, ICHR. The Research Projects Committee project of research in history specifically, including an aspect of aspects within India, within aspect or aspects within India. So it is basically for the research in subject history, and the Indian Council of Historical Research, they also provide fund for doing research in history. Project grants to institution will not exceed ₹5 lakhs for a maximum period of 2 years. It is also like ICSSR. It is maximum for 2 years. They provide fund and not exceed ₹5 lakhs. Historical Research Committee may award a grant for history or on a theme substantively aspects of history. I think it is based on history only for the researcher of history. You may apply to the ICSR for a fund for doing your research. Nowadays, Indian Council of Philosophical Research. Every subject has some specific council of Indian Council. Almost every subject is specific. I have tried to collect all these, and I am going to show you one after another. It is for philosophy, just like the ICSR, it is IPPR, philosophical research. In subject proposals submitted by individuals should be associated with university, institute, or public funded institution. It means a person who are engaged within any type of institute, yeah, he may apply for the research on philosophy to the ICPR. But the duration of the project may not exceed 3 years. But I could not find the maximum limit of its allocation of its fund of the ICPR. So I could not find any amount, how many uh, amount they grant for doing research in philosophy. I couldn't find any specific data. But the ICPR allowed the researcher to do their research on philosophy maximum up to 3 years. Now it is project and schemes funded by Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR. It is also very common. Basically, the science teachers apply regularly CSIR project, and they know it is very well what is the procedure to apply and what is the criteria to sanction the fund. Uh, Research schemes sponsored by sponsored schemes, emeritus scientist scheme, research fellowship associateship, other science and technology promotion programs. In these areas, CSIR provide the grants for doing research. The focus area of funding by CSIR. Uh, Professors, scientists, and other experts in regular employment in universities, IITs, postgraduate institutions, college recognized research and development laboratories, etc. So these personnel may apply for the fund to the CSIR. They are professors, scientists, other experts in regular employment. No casual staff will be allowed to apply for CSIR scholarship funding. Regular employed in universities, IIT, postgraduate institutes, and college, etc. Emeritus scientist scheme to provide support to superannuated outstanding scientists to pursue research in their respective field of specialization and have relevance to the programs of CSIR. Because we have to, we all we know that we have to do our service within some rules and regulations, and we have to get retirement from our service after a specific age. And if there is any eminent scientist who get retirement, but to encourage them for doing more research, CSR also support with fund to the eminent scientists after their retirement. They may also apply to the CSIR to do research of their area. JRF Junior Research Scholarship, it provides opportunities to bright young men and women through an all-India examination for research and training under experienced researcher and investigator, report in the various fields of science. CSIR also provides JRF scholarship, and they conduct examination for the India and for selection with JRF under CSIR. The selected research scholars are appointed initially as junior research fellows for a period of 2 years and subject to satisfactory performance and assessment of the end of this period, they can be given higher stipend for the remaining period in the form of senior research fellowship. We know it very well in any type of fellowship in JRF. The first phase it is junior researcher, and if you do your research with satisfaction of the funding agency or your research institute, you may promoted, researcher may promoted to the senior research fellowship for the next remaining part of his fellowship. And the junior, it is total 5 years of fellowship. So researcher may, the fund will be varied from the junior research and the senior research fellowship. The amount will be varied. And this is the senior research fellowship. The council is also a scheme for the award of senior research fellowship association to encourage young research workers having good quality published work to their credit to pursue research work in science, engineering, technology, and medicine on specific research program. So you have to publish your research work. A researcher must have to publish his or her research work. And in every institute, there are some guidelines for when a researcher will be eligible to submit his or her research report. Before submitting a research report, he or she must have to produce some published work based on his or her topic before submitting the final research report. So, researcher must have to publish regularly their research, how far it is done, how far he has completed his research. He must have to publish with a good publication journals. So, if a researcher, so every researcher should mind it that their credit for research is based will be enriched by his or her publication. Focus area of the funding of CSR, Shah Prasad Mukherjee Fellowship. These are the focus area in which areas the CSR provide funds. First of all, to nurture budding scientific talent towards pursue the scientific research. CSI is based only for science subjects. So the science teachers and science, the participants with science background, you may follow this. And if you want to apply for funding for CSR, you must have to follow this point. Who can submit a proposal? The scheme is open to top 20% CSI UGCRS net scholars along with the top 100 get qualified candidates with percentile 99 and above. So it is very sophisticated funding, and the criteria for selection granting the fund is very sophisticated. The 99% and above, you have to, they are eligible to apply, but it is not ensured. If you get the 99% and above, you will get the funding. It is not ensured, but it is the eligibility criteria to apply. So we can understand how sophisticated this is. And how to submit a proposal? Once a year examination, second Sunday of July every year. Second Sunday of July every year, the CSR conducts the examination for providing funds. Areas of research support: basic science, fellowship each in life science, 5 fellowships each in life science, chemical science, art science, physical science, and mathematical science. They provide only fund for these areas. 5 fellowship for each area. One is life science, number 2 chemical science, number 3 art science, number 4 physical science, and number 5 is mathematical science. For this 5 area, they provide 5 fellowships each in every year. Senior Research Associateship, that is PhD, MTech, MD, MS with 2 years research teaching experience and publication. So, to apply for this Senior Research Associateship to the CSIR, an applicant must have at least 2 years experience, research or teaching experience in PhD, MTech, MD, MS in this area. The applications in the prescribed format can be submitted any time of the year. You may collect the prescribed format from their website, and throughout the year you may apply. Science and technology, including agriculture, engineering, and medicine, these are the disciplines where the Senior Research Associateship is permissible for from the CSIR. The CSIR has a scheme for providing partial financial assistance for research. They may also provide partial assistance. These are in where assistance to scientific societies, institutions, university, departments for organizing national international conferences, symposia, seminars, workshops, etc. in India. If any science institute want to organize this type of activities, they may apply to the CSIR for partial financial assistance. The applicants on prescribed format should be submitted to HRDG CSIR preferably at least 3 months before the event, because they after getting your proposal, they will verify, they will scrutinize. So it may take time. So if you want to apply for the CSIR for any partial financial assistance, you must have to apply at least 3 months before the event. Bona fide Indian registered scientific societies, associations of scientists and engineers, and academic institutions are eligible to apply for financial assistance. An expert committee constituted for the purpose by DG CSIR examine project and customer grant for each event. I just mentioned earlier. They, after getting your proposal, they will verify it according to their own protocol. And if your proposal satisfied their protocol, then you may offer the financial assistance for conducting any type of activities mentioned earlier. Now it is ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization. They also provide fund for research. Sponsored, that is research. Indian Space Research Organization. They also provide funds where to conduct research and developmental activities in the relevant areas of space science, application technology at the universities and academic institutions in the country. If any institute wants to do research in space science, they may apply to the ISRO for funding. To establish interaction between scientists working at ISRO and academic institutions to carry out joint research and educational activities of interest to the Indian space program. Okay. You may conduct your research on space science jointly with the personnel of ISRO, the experts of ISRO. You may also conduct your research. If you want to do any research in specifically on space science, then you may jointly, collaboratively, you may do your research with the experts of ISRO. Now it is DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization. Defense research. It is extramural research scheme. Aeronautics Research and Development Board. There are two schemes for offering funds from DRDO. These are the two. And the ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, they also provide funds. Ad hoc research scheme, research fellowship associateship, emeritus medical scientist scheme, other research related activities. ICMR basically provides funds for these areas. This is for medical science, and in medical research, researcher may apply for the ICMR to ICMR for funding. Now it is Department of Biotechnology, DBT. It is also a common funding agency, DBT. By Department of Biotechnology, they also provide funds. It is also a national level body. Areas of research support animal biotechnology, agriculture and marine biotechnology, basic research in biotechnology, bioinformatics, biological control of plant pests, disease and weeds, biotech process engineering and industrial biotechnology, biotechnology of medicinal and aromatic plants, biotechnology of steel, worms and host, crop biotechnology, environment and conservation biotechnology, food biotechnology, human genetics, medical biotechnology, plant tissue culture. So these are the areas where DBT provide funds for doing research. Basic proposal format for getting funds. It is common. Whichever mentioned in the first presentation, research proposal. Generally, in any research funding agency, if you want to apply for your fund for doing your research, you must first of all you have to prepare a proposal. That is, it includes introduction, concrete aims and achievable objectives. Achievable objectives, not the vague objectives. Whichever is achievable by your research, you have to mention only the achievable objectives. Limit to 3 or maximum 4. You should not mention more and more objectives, because you have to mention only 3 to 4 objectives, specific objectives for doing your research. Current national international status, your capabilities to do this project. It is based on a researcher. He or she has to mention his status for doing this type of research. Methodology, which will be followed by you in your research. You have to mention time frame, summary, requirements, you have to mention all the requirements which may be needed for doing your research in your proposal. Then come the budget. Budget is also very important everywhere. Staff, number of scholars and men hours to be used, number of office assistants. So you have to mention how many staff you have to require for completing your research. Human personnel, how many human personnel you required for doing your research. You have to mention here. Permanent equipments, which mean instrument, portable kits, etc., which is required for doing the research. You have to mention the detail about your travel plan, where you have to go for collecting data or for doing your research. No purchase of a jeep car admissible here. You may not be allowed to purchase any car for doing your research. You may hire a car, but you should not be allowed for purchase a car from your fund. Overhead for the institutions, furniture, electricity, water supply, space, whatever is required and how it will be incurred in your research, you have to mention here. Contingency fund, it is a very important area, contingency fund, and every research authority have some specific guidelines which may come under this point of contingency. So before mentioning your budget, you should go through the guidelines of the research authority, research institute, which type of contingency it is allowed. It is they may allow. Generally, it requires some stationery, fuels, office items, wearing, postage, etc. It is comes under general. But I again want to mention that every research funding agency has some specific guidelines for this contingency fund. And the consumable tracing sheets, data forms, chemicals, ink cartridge, remotes, etc. Justification for budget. Yes, madam. You have to justify your budget. I may write everything. I may write. I think this and this, this and this. But you have to justify how it will be required for you. How this type of budget is necessary for your research. You have to justify before submitting your proposal. These are the main points of funding research in India. And for doing this presentation, for making this presentation, I took help from these two persons and two of my research scholars. One of Juganta Mishra, who is working at Raiganj B.Ed College, and one of my MPhil research MPhil scholar, Samata Kundu, who is doing her research on artificial intelligence and education, relationship with education. He is going to submit her dissertation very soon. They helped me a lot for preparing these two slideshow PPT. So these all for the various types of funding agencies for research, whichever I have collected. And now, before conclude my speech, I will want to show you another interesting interesting. So, I told you earlier that I will show you how to apply and what to apply. I have prepared a list of different funding agencies with their websites, and I will share it with the authority. And if authority of this webinar, if they wish, they may share it with the participants. So here I have mentioned all the research funding agencies of India, and with their web address. If you want to search, if you want to know more about their schemes and more about their modalities or more about their guidelines, how to apply and what will be the criteria, and you can find everything. I think you can find everything with these uh, through their websites. So this is all from me for today's evening. You may ask if you have any question, but I think there is in this presentation I have contributed nothing. I have just assembled everything. This is I have tried to assemble the different points of different points of different funding agencies in a slide in a PPT show. So I have contributed nothing in this presentation. So you may ask questions if you any have regarding this. Okay, sir, please send the PPT. Can I apply the Jani Gupta? Okay, sir. Okay. Devjani Gupta, can I apply for fund from state government funding institute if I am from other state? Sorry. Madam, if you want to apply for any type of funding, you first go through their guidelines, whether they accept the domiciles of other states in any state. You may go through the guidelines of that government of that funding agency. Pooja Ahmed comes, sir, please send the PPT. Okay, we want to have the PPT. Shall I give my mail ID? I don't need your mail ID. I will hand over of everything to the authority. They will decide whether it is shareable or not. Need feedback from for day one. Okay, I am not related with this. Karthik Devjani Gupta, does all NAC accredited university provide fund for research? No. Not all NAC accredited universities provide fund for research. It is based on the fund of the university. If every university has some specific budget, if they allot some fund for research, then they will allow the scholars to get fund from them. Karthik Shimandan, yes, ma'am. Can nutrition or home science students apply for CSIR JRF? Madam, I have shown every points of CSIR JRF. If you find your subject in their guidelines, you also may apply. P, sir, what are the pros and cons of doing minor research projects simultaneously with PhD? It is, I don't know whether it is allowed to do two types of research simultaneously. I think you will be not allowed to do simultaneous two types of research, that is minor research and PhD. And you should contact with your authority of your institute, whether they allow you to do the two simultaneous research. Okay, sir. I think I have answered all the questions raised so far. And Sudipto, sir,
Thank you,
I
sir.
think I have covered whatever you have wanted to hear from me. I think I have tried my level best to satisfy you, but I don't know whether it is up to your satisfaction.
Sir,
So,
actually, it was
before
a very,
concluding, I want
very
to
informative presentation. And sir, although you have mentioned that you assembled all of them, but the research scholar, particularly the young research scholars and budding research scholars, they will get it at a glance and they can use it as a reference. So I think this will be a very much helpful for them. Now, sir, may I request Professor Abu Farah Haq, Department of English from our college, to speak on behalf of our college and then invite our principal madam for concluding remarks. So Abu, please carry on.
Thank you, Sudipto, Professor Sudipto Ghosh. I must thank Professor Debobroto Debnath for this enriching talk. Thank you so much, sir, for this enriching and informative talk. And regarding the questions in the chat box, the PPT and the feedback form will definitely share that in the group after the session. Now I'd like to request our Honorable Principal Madam, Dr. Shima Chakraborty, to give the concluding speech for our session, ma'am.
Hello. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Hello. Very good evening to everyone, the distinguished speakers as our honorable guests, along with the most valuable and adorable audiences. Today evening, I am so happy to express my gratitude to the speakers, Professor Dr. Amitabh Bandyopadhyay, Professor Dr. Debobroto Debnath, and Dr. Kulwant Singh. I am proud to congratulate the research cell and the internal quality assurance cell with the members from Maharani Kasiswari College for what they have done with brilliantly glowing heart dedicated to work, starting from deciding the topics for discussion in the webinar and carrying its fragrances to the world with constant cooperation by our efficient technical team. I strongly believe that every participant from India and various corners of the world has enjoyed the 2 evenings, either directly attending the meetings or through observing YouTube live videos of these speeches. Due to standard time differences between various countries, we have arranged for different joining provisions. I feel that all the subjects of the 2-day webinar have been discussed vividly, touching every relevant point, enlightening the present and future researchers. As writing in every field of work is a real art through picturization of everything by words, the expression of the theme reaches near and near its goal of clarity with articulation smoothly enjoyable as well as easily digestible by any reader. Before stepping towards an actual research procedure, concreteness of a project in writing helps a competent authority to make decision regarding funding for it. I think everyone feels here that the respected speakers have emphasized on every aspect important and necessary for writing of a research article with ethical issues in publication in Indian academic regulatory regime, for selection of journals appropriately matching the research work, for writing of research proposals with overview of different funding agencies for continuing research in India. I hope all have enjoyed the nourishing lectures in our workshop. Yes, the webinar has attained a level of workshop truly. I must not use the words concluding remarks as it is a remarkable start to the ongoing process of research to reach furthest. I would also request our honorable speakers to be with us with their wonderful knowledge in future also. Thank you all. Be happy and take care of yourselves to be with us for long. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. our principal, Dr. Shima Chakraborty. Now I'd like to request Professor Chandrima Kormokar, Department of English, Maharani Kasiswari College, to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Professor Abu Farah Haq. A very good evening to all of you, respected Principal Ma'am, Dr. Shima Chakraborty, esteemed speakers, fellow participants. Let me begin by thanking each one of you for your active participation and enthusiasm over these 2 days. This workshop would not have been a success without your cooperation and participation. We finally come to the end of the 2-day national level workshop on the art of academic writing. As we all know, academic writing is an integral part of the life of every research scholar, every academician. It is something that we absolutely cannot do without. And hence, I would extend my gratitude to the joint conveners of Research Cell, Maharani Kasiswari College, Dr. Sudipto Ghosh and Professor Surjotapa Das for taking up this initiative and organizing this wonderful workshop on academic writing. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished and esteemed speakers who over the 2 days, that is yesterday and today, have enriched us with insightful presentations, profound knowledge on academic writing. Professor Amitabh Bandyopadhyay, Professor, Department of Chemical Engineering, University of Calcutta. Dr. Kulwant Singh, Assistant Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Chandigarh University. Dr. Debobroto Debnath, Dean, Faculty of Law, Education, Journalism, Library Science, and Physical Education, University of Gorbongo. Thank you so much for being generous enough and sharing with us your profound and insightful knowledge on academic writing. I'm quite certain that every participant who have attended this workshop, as Madam rightly pointed out, through any medium, whether being present online or through the YouTube link that has been shared, I'm sure each one of you have gained a lot over these 2 days and will now be able to incorporate and implement this knowledge in your research work. So on that note, on behalf of Maharani Kasiswari College, I extend my best wishes to all the research scholars, all the academicians who have been with us over the last 2 days. Thank you and wish you all a very good evening.
Thank you, Professor Chandrima Kormokar. Now, feedback form, it is already in the chat box, but all dear participants, be careful that your name and your institution's name and country, they are correctly put there, okay? Because the certificate will be system generated certificate. So with the kind permission of our principal madam, my co-joint convener, joint convener Surjotapa Das from Maharani Kasiswari College, and TKC sir, Topon sir, our IQAC coordinator. Now I conclude the session here. We will be live for a few minutes because participants, they are engaged in filling the feedback form. After that, we will close the session. So good night to all of you, and thanks to all dear participants.
Sir,
Yeah.
due to some network problem, I will disconnect this meeting. Please share it again, the feedback form.
Amit, please share the feedback form again. Amit from Computer Science Department of Maharani Kasiswari College. Amit is a technical expert in this field, so it is already in the chat box.
Thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure.